This conference will now be recorded.
It is September the 28th, and so we'll get started. Welcome to everybody in attendance and anyone that's on virtual. And for make sure that anybody that is here, that if we can get your signature to sign in, so we can keep a record of who attended, and we'll go from there. So if we can have a roll call, please.
Okay, Chair Councillor Oropesa.
Here.
Vice Chair Ms. Moore. Councilmember Halverson. Here. Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Okay, if we can have a motion to approve the agenda, and if you want to throw in the minutes as well, we can.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda and the minutes from August 27th meeting.
We got a motion.
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried unanimously. And so we'll go to action item listed as number 2. Consideration and approval of the Spring River Zoo fees. And right?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So last month I was kind of like knew that I was up about talking about fees as we're looking at everything. So what I wanted to do is basically get an idea of where our fees stand in the market. I've submitted some stuff, but if you will, there's 90 some zoos I talked to. 10 of those were wound up being free zoos. One is actually Wright Park Zoo, no relations, but that's at a Dodge City. And to let you know, they're getting ready to close as well. But my survey showed 11% of the zoos I surveyed were free, where the national average is about 6. So we have a good sampling. Next slide. And so what I did with all that information is I looked at where we compared to our state zoos as far as fees goes for adults, seniors, children, military members, as well as group rates. And ours is on the right-hand side where we are currently. Next slide. And then I kind of looked at the national average. One of the things that Councilmember Oropesa kind of asked me, where are we with kind of the cost of living and things like that. So the spreadsheet that I gave you figured out all this stuff, but really what I did was I looked at AZA zoos versus non-AZA versus non-affiliated, but I really looked at where we were at with governmentally run zoos. We're at about that 491 mark. One of the things I looked at was the cost of living, your entertainment dollars. So that 70% basically means if you spend $10 on a movie ticket, you could expect to spend $7 on a zoo. So when I sit there and kind of look at 70% with that. Also, we're a small rural community. So when we're looking at prices, can a small rural community afford that? Well, I looked at towns and counties of similar size above and below our population. I actually found out we're actually below the fees of similar size communities. So that's just kind of the stuff I put together. So if we look at what I'm proposing for fees is, for the most part, keep a lot of what we're doing currently the same. The challenge comes down to with our seniors and our militaries and our students, there was no differentiation between a resident and non-resident. So that's why I thought that we could just give a discount or $2 discount for people in that category, which keeps our local residents, seniors, militaries, and students still at the $3 rate. That's just $2 off the regular admission. And then our out-of-towners would be $8 or $2 off the non-residential rates in that regards. Another thing that we discovered is our group rate did not delineate between residents and non-residents. So my recommendation is that we do our group rate for residents only. I will restate that the zoo is open free to the public for 13 days. The zoo is currently has 13 free days for the public in general, and that's the first Saturday of every month and the zoo day that we have in July. We also currently offer another total of 65 days for our senior citizens. That's the first Friday of the month of every week, as well as the first Saturdays of the month as well. We do ask that they bring a military ID or anything like that to show that they're a resident and whatnot. So we do offer considerably free days for our residents. Next slide. So another thing we were looking at, and this is probably where we make some of our big changes, is we were looking at our memberships. Currently, our memberships include like a card, unlimited admission to the zoo. We have a couple events, so Seal It with the Fish is kind of like right around Valentine's Day, as well as Night of the Living Zoo, discounted admissions to special events like brew events with the friends, admission to member events, enrichment items, member brunch, ribbon cutting ceremony, so like our butterfly garden. And then we're looking at expanding our reciprocity program, which basically means they can go to another zoo for a discounted rate because our members go to another zoo and we allow their members to come to our zoo for a discounted rate as well. So in most cases, that actually is more beneficial to our members than it is for other people coming to Roswell. We feel that the current pricing is limiting our numbers. If you look at our numbers, we don't really have a lot of people in that. Some of that can be because we offer plenty of free days. And so people opt to go the free days as opposed to having a membership that lets them go on year round for free. So we decided to make that a little bit more attractive and within reasonable comparative markets. So that's why we adjusted and lowered all categories in that regards to 30, 60, 80. The dual pass, it can be people in the same household. It can be boyfriend, girlfriend type of deal, but we figured we'll just double up the individual, and that way we don't really have to question lifestyles or anything like that and how they identify themselves as a dual. So that's where we went with that one. The seniors and the militaries, we definitely wanted to bring that down to make that more affordable. And we feel that these numbers will see an increase in our memberships in that regards. And we just similar to the rec center, we feel that those prices will help actually increase our members, and we shouldn't really see that. So if I'm looking at the potential loss in revenue, I sit there and say it's relatively unknown, as our institution is heavily dependent on tourist dollars and the weather. But we feel that our current rate and free days should remain the same. We don't really predict an overall loss in income because of the membership change, because most of our rates will be the same. If you wish to offer more free days for our residents, we would recommend maybe adding a couple of months during our slower times, which is just going to be January and December, i.e. also when there's a big break for our residents. So I actually looked at the number of people visiting that were our residents at that time. And if I did an average price of 3.75, that's one kid and one adult. So that's how I averaged that out, is about a $2,700 loss for those extra 2 months of free opportunities. I've already, this is a very important part when we're looking at fees, we have already seen an 8% total visitation increase over this time last year. But more importantly, if we look at, we were charging from March of last year, so the current March to August, we've seen a 30% increase during our charging months. So it appears that our fees are actually reasonably set and follow all the national guidelines, and the community seems to be able to support that fee by increased numbers. Next slide. Carousel, train ride, the day passes, I really haven't changed anything. We feel that that's a good price and good reasonable aspects for anybody that wants to enjoy those extras. Another thing that we looked at was rentals and party packages. So we never really had, in the past, people would rent the room for their birthday parties, but then they would come in and basically use the zoo for free. So it was definitely a bonus because we didn't necessarily have a means of tracking people. So we wanted to be able to just get rid of the room rental with no admissions during the day and just kind of go with the admissions included in the guest room or a party room. We do want to look at the room is rated for a maximum of 40 people. So if someone rents the room at 75 plus another 20 some people visiting, you're looking at about $120, $130, depending on how many adults and kids. But it's almost a wash for the room, and that at 20. So if they bring more in, that's why we're looking at if we can just charge the group rate of $3, that could generate extra income for us. But they would never go over 60 because that's the max that the room could hold. So the staffing that we need for the host those parties is one staff member. We have added on amenities, if you will. So if someone wants to have a animal encounter educational program, that's $35. But we're really looking at the potential of tailorizing or tailor making party for the guests. So we want to be able to say, if you want a certain theme, or as we develop those, we would know that, hey, we're supplying the cake, the table covers, the plates, all this theme stuff. And it'll be a lot easier for us to purchase decorations all at once. And then we'd be able to charge no more than a 25% markup for that. Then we look at the party package for the whole room as well as a patio area, and we can hold up to 100 people there. And so we wanted to keep the same pricing deal, but we're really asking our guests to call us for pricing. And that allows us to tailor make that for them. But we're going to use the benchmarks of kind of the party room package plus extra people, because it doesn't really cost us anymore to add that patio. So once again, we're going to use that same basic rate of the party room plus 20, and then add for every other person over that 20 at $3 group rate while we're open. And once again, talking about whatever their needs are as well. In the past fiscal year, we generated about $6,600 in room rentals, $6,200, and about that averaged out about 42 rentals a year in that regard. So next slide. We do offer use of the zoo after hours or in the party room. So these are also rates that we went a little bit higher on, mainly because we want to make sure that we have 2 staff there at all times to be able to handle any of the guest needs. And so it's just trying to figure out the cost of all that. Once again, we're working with their needs. Same thing with the party room and the patio option after hours. We're working at the same price line, just adding $2 for every person, because they're not going to experience the zoo, because the zoo side is actually closed down at that time. So we really prefer our guests that are interested in rental calling us so that we can actually price it out. One of the things that we found in that research is you're paying for the actual people that are going. You're not necessarily having to pay for more people that aren't going and just getting a big bulk rate that is, if you have 47 people, we're asking you to pay for 100, that doesn't become cost effective. So we feel that this will also potentially help us out. One of the things that we noticed is we don't rent out the whole zoo. So we're asking people just to kind of call us for pricing for the 2 and the 4 hour options. We're looking at $300 or $500 plus $3 per guest. That's our group rate. And then if it's like a big crowd or they want extra stuff, we want to make sure that we can give them 4 staff already. But if we need the parties bigger, we want to make sure that we can also compensate to bring out more staff at that time. If they need electrical use for the whole park or the whole zoo, we want to make sure that we charge appropriate for that one. Other needs, once again, if they need extra catering needs with the convention center or a caterer, or we would have to figure out blow-ups or decorations or whatever, we would work with them to make sure that we're recovering the cost of meeting their needs as well. So I also looked at comparable community entities for their rentals. And so we found out, once again, is we're reasonably priced and of actually a value. When I'm sitting and looking at Spaceport, is they charge for the room roughly what we're doing, but it's 2 hours and you have to pay for every experience afterwards. Same thing with the laser tag at Area 52. You're paying for all those experiences. Peter Piper Pizza, you're getting food and game tokens, but that's $300 for 30 people. And then let's just say I took the kids to the movies and whatnot, if I paid for that one. So within reason of what we're doing for our party rooms, we are within the market and reasonably comparable to what we're basing our prices off of. Next slide. Our educational programming. Now that Renee is here and we're developing that program as well, we're trying to figure out that right price point. So school groups just come into the zoo, they get their school group rate of $2. But if they want to basically do a program with a ride or an extra additive as well, we want to charge them $5. That covers the admission, that covers $1 ride, and it covers $2 for programming. And that's why we also want to make sure it's a minimum of 10 people for that extra programming to make it worth our while to dedicate a staff member to that. Camps, we found out this year that $85 for the full 6-hour day, 85 seemed to be the real right price mark for us. So we just basically took that number, divided it by half, and added just a little bit and rounded up. And that's kind of what we were looking at doing for our camps, from half day to full day camps and whatnot. We also have done private tours that we're looking at doing a little bit more marketing. Is a maximum of 10 people. so that everyone can be watched and answer their questions accordingly. That's during our normal hours, but if you want to come in early or stay a little bit later, we wanted to charge extra for that benefit as well. The animal encounters, we talked about that before. Currently it's 35, it remains the same. But if we go off-site, we want to basically charge a little bit more because the staff member who does that has to be able to assemble the animal and have the drive time. So if you will, that $35 plus $15 to get everything ready. If we go to a school and we're in an auditorium, it's $50 for 100 people. But if they want us to go with another class, then it's just that $26.25 for the second session. If we look at anything beyond the Roswell metropolitan area, then we charge them for miles based on a mileage rate that's the city will reimburse us for. So we will not necessarily do that by the mile, but we'll look at 25, 50 miles, kind of look where the circle is that they have. And it'll be the same thing for the offsite lesson program, except for instead of just an animal encounter, we're talking about adaptations. It's a little bit more of a program that we work with the teachers to make sure we're meeting their STEM or STEAM needs as well. All these programs will basically remain within reason. We will never increase the fee more than 20% in a given year. If we do add programs or add materials for those programs, then that's what we will see as an increase in that regards. So once again, we compare ourselves with other camps that we looked at in the area. And once again, we're very reasonably marketed in that regards. Next slide. So I do thank you for your time. It took a lot of effort and we had a lot of different nuances. So I do stand for questions if you do have any.
Committee members, anybody have a question?
I have a couple. On your group rates, you went up on those, but I had a question for like nonprofits. I mean, that's the perfect opportunity to get more interest in the zoo.
Correct. So the group rate didn't go up. It's still $3.
I know, but for like nonprofits, can you do like a maximum of 2 a year for free or something to try to get?
So then we go back to our anti-donational clause.
Oh, would it
That's-
be like half the price then?
Well,
I'm just trying to see if, because when you go to the groups, then it generates interest in the zoo and you'll get more people go out, hopefully.
I think that's why we implemented the group rate to kind of have that as an
Yeah.
option.
I mean, they're already getting a 40% discount with that as well. So I can see that need. Our goal is, once again, if we can get groups to sponsor, we get them to sponsor at that group rate and cover that cost. It's not to say that we can't work with them. Very similar to our Halloween deal, we're getting someone to sponsor the booth for the non-for-profit. So I get totally where you're coming from. It's just we'll have to potentially look at that one. But correct me, because I don't know if we really get too many non-for-profits throughout the year coming. I know we had, what was it, there was one group that came in and did a tour.
Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah, so we only had one last year. And what we really did was, that was a really of a quick just overview of the zoo. And we talked about volunteerism.
Okay.
But they did not have a traditional zoo visit. It was basically a 10-minute walk around where we talked about things we needed to help to make the zoo better, incorporate those non-for-profits to sit there and say how they can help with what the zoo is doing. So, but that's about as close as we got to helping out, because we were also really doing a volunteer recruiting.
So how does the free days, how does that not violate the anti-donation?
It's just part of our programming. There's no admission that day.
But you can't do that with the nonprofits.
Particular group of people.
Yeah, it's open to,
Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah,
open to the,
Yeah.
like, it's not a,
yeah, it's not a group.
yeah.
So instead of doing like a whole month free, can you just include more free days during the week? Like maybe your slow days, like Wednesdays or Thursdays, I guess, is pretty slow. So instead of doing a whole 2 months free, do like every Wednesday or every Thursday free.
I'm open to that, but then what our discussion would be, because when I calculated up that, it was like 60 some, well, actually it was 75 free days if we included the January and the December. So what would probably be a good reasonable deal is then how many extra free days do you want to give? And like I'd mentioned before, is your average member for your average zoo goes about 6 times a year, and we're already offering 13. I am not opposed to that at all. I think that's a great idea. I want to incorporate that and need your guys' feedback, but at some point we may have to say, what's that limit?
Because in those months that you pick, the animals aren't as active. I mean, obviously it's colder. Some are hibernating, but I'd rather see. more-
Actually, one of the things that I've noticed at other native zoos as well, your native animals get a little bit more frisky at certain
Yeah.
times of the year because it's cooler.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can kind of, it'll be harder maybe on our visitors who may or may not want to go out.
Yeah.
But that's why I was also looking at we're looking at that peak time when you're out for the holidays for our residents to enjoy that free thing could actually be the sweet spot to put it in there. And that's why I looked at that as a potential too.
Yeah.
I'm willing to go on either way of this one,
Yeah.
but that's why I suggested those because we definitely know statistically it's our shorter month and we can get them out there during that time.
Well, I know you were trying to do it your shorter months, but if you do the slower days during the weekday, then
Yeah.
even through the summer and everything, maybe more people.
Yeah, and we can look at the fact that then when school starts, the slow day is really, really slow, and then we'll really see a return on our investment, whereas maybe that
Yeah,
holiday break, we'd see a better return on the investment.
maybe include that. Do like every other Wednesday or every other Thursday, and then the school breaks, the spring break.
Yeah, like I said, it would be easier for me. Prime example, when I was in New York, we got a state grant to do, that was like for museums, Botanical Garden Zoo, which is basically a cultural grant. But you had to offer X amount of your opening days as free. They did the same thing in Illinois. So if you were open for this period of time, you had to at least give 30, 60, 90 days of free days. And then so what we did is we always shoved it in the winter months because that was our slower deal and we met the criteria.
Yeah.
So what I would just ask of you is what is that number? And then we can come back to you and say, it actually might be better to do it during the break because we would also know that most of our citizens would have better time off.
Well,
Enjoy
like,
that.
I say, yeah, you could do the winter break and then the spring break and then every other Thursday or every other one. So whatever your slow
Yeah.
is. I don't know what your slowest day.
Yeah. What would be our slowest day?
Tuesdays.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just need a number and then we can play around with it and come back to you.
Okay.
Because like I said, for every free day, we can potentially lose revenue. We're trying to find that right sweet spot and I'm open.
That's why I say hit the slow days.
Yep.
Your private tours, are they behind the scenes tours? Or just
No, I mean, because to be quite honest, there's not a lot of behind the scenes. You have Mountain Lion and you have really our lemurs. Well, because of COVID and the potential for transmission, those have pretty much been shut down. We might do it with a very small, intimate group of benefactors or something like that, but we'll have to mask up or something like that in that regards. It's really an opportunity to actually meet the people who know the animals more intimately and getting that information.
Yeah.
It's a private guided tour.
Yeah.
In the future, if we continue to grow and add new exhibits with that in mind, then we will make sure that our behind the scenes areas are attractive and appealing for people to want to do that behind the scenes tour.
hopefully those private tours get you more donations and stuff too.
That's one of those things of also being able to offer that for potential sponsors and benefactors where it's not necessarily an official tour as much as it is, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going, how would you like to help?
That's all.
Anybody else?
What is senior aid?
We have it at 60. And that was designated in the first resolution for fees.
I think the 60s across the city.
Yep.
Anything else? Anybody from the audience, attendance, have any questions? Anybody attending virtual, do they have any questions? It's not,
My conversation with the feasting, I still don't, I don't know how to have a real conversation about this, honestly, because I don't. I'm still.
well, let me share my thoughts. And I don't want to see that look.
Are you the newspaper?
I don't think,
There's no camera here.
I don't think it's, I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that I have shared my thoughts on fees, particularly for the zoo. There's nothing to do personal against Mr. Wright or anybody else on the zoo or the park. I absolutely think that the zoo should be open to the public, period, free. Because to me, by charging membership, and I've shared this before, it becomes a selective group of individuals that are able to attend. And even though you have free days and what have you, those free days are not based on the time that people can go and visit the zoo or the park, or it is based on whenever those days are available. They may be able to go, they may not be able to go. And so my take is that the zoo should be free of charge. Especially when the zoo is outlined as such to include the concession stand, the carousel, the pond, and the train. I think our community, I don't know how many attended the workshop that we had was last week and a half ago, somewhere in that area. But we were discussing the water rates of how many people were behind. You know, the city went ahead and used the federal money that was issued to the city to bring everybody up to date as far as their water bills was concerned up to January the 1st. And as of January the 1st, at least what I understood was that we have like 400 people that are already behind on their water bill. And so that tells me that we are a very poor community. And by charging, we actually, or the perception that I have anyway, is that we are making the city a business. We're actually taking the city and administering as a regular business. And I don't think that's our function. Our function is to make sure that we provide the necessary services that our community needs. And so, and it does cost. But the community does pay taxes to be able to receive those type of business. I mean, those types of quality of service, quality of services. And so I am totally against, I can understand the renting of facilities, like the party rooms and that kind of thing. I have no problem with that. But I do have a problem when it comes down to the actual zoo, because then you're, if not eliminating, you're restricting a lot of the individuals, the poor individuals, that the opportunity to enjoy what the city has to offer at any time that they want to. It used to be that, especially during the summer, when you drove by the Spring River Zoo, you see a lot of kids in there. And Sundays, they would be packed with people going down the zoo and playing on the park and what have you. And now you hardly see that. The pond used to be full of kids enjoying fishing and what have you. So, you know, to me, it seems like we're trying to make this zoo a tourist zoo instead of community zoo. And so that's just my opinion. And for that reason, I will never support fees at the zoo.
So can I bring up a couple? Sure. You actually brought up something that just spawned an idea. Kansas City offers at one point, free days for the whole, because they get $20 million from Kansas City to help run the zoo. They were having shootings in the parking lot. So what they did is they actually offered tickets in the water bill. So that, I mean, if ever you're paying your bill every month, here's a ticket for your household. That way you could potentially meet their schedule. So now it's not a set date, so they can go when it's more available to them. There's an option. It's still roughly 12 days that we could do that as well. I'm just trying to think outside the box by trying to understand where you're coming from as well. We also look at, do I develop a zoo that's tourism based? All zoos are tourism based. Let's just acknowledge that. The potential for new tax revenue coming in between the museums that we have in town, between Main Street, that's all new money coming in. And if we offer these things to people coming in, they're paying taxes, they're staying in the beds, they're doing more. If we can offer them a better experience by utilizing the tax dollars and that support, that's more money coming in to fix the roads. The fees that we charge, pay for jobs, city jobs that I know that you've mentioned about trying to get off the temp work and try to offer more cities. These are things that are important to you, and I'm trying to understand that and trying to convey that to you. And I totally get where you're coming from. That's why I'm trying to have this dialogue. I see where you're coming from in that regards. But I believe that all zoos are tourism based, but you can also have the local flair that draws in people that create those childhood memories that I have of my Kansas City Zoo.
Well, and I'll push back a little bit on your comments. When I say tourism based, it seems like we're catering more to the visitor than we are to our community. I understand that all not just the zoos, but the museums and other facilities in the community can be considered tourism based because people come in and visit them, you know, but I don't think we go out of our way to specifically make that facility more attractive to the visitor than we do to the community that lives here.
And that's why I've asked you and other council members to come sit at my desk so I can learn these things. What is value to the community? What is value of your constituents in your areas? What's that history? What do the kids in the school want and need? That's why I come to these things and offer you guys to sit down and talk to. I do appreciate Councilman Halverson for meeting with the ZA mentor to try to give us that feedback and learn. I'm still new. I don't have that history. I understand the importance of it with the communities, small communities I've lived in, but I don't know it the way you guys do. And that's what I'm asking, almost begging.
And I understand the position that you're in, and I'm not trying to be argumentative or anything like that. But, and I understand that you were hired at a time when this was a push by, let me say, the previous administration or previous council. I don't hold those same opinions. You know, I've always said the zoo we should never charge at the zoo. And so, you know, we do have a difference of opinions. And I can truly appreciate your comments and your efforts to try and make this one, like I said, it's more a money-making situation than anything else, as far as I'm concerned. You had something?
Yeah, so I've said this before, and I appreciate where you're coming from, but I think I don't have a problem with charging with the zoo part. The animals, you have to pay to feed them, you have to pay the staff. But I think we can come to a happy medium with what you want and what you want. Because I know I wasn't happy with the way the fences. So you're blocking off the carousel and the train. People have to pay to ride them, and that makes sense. But the only way they can get to it is to pay to get in the zoo. I really think you'll get more riders and it'll be open to the public more if that's not in the fence. Same for the pond. I know right now, the whole park part is free, right? They don't have to pay to go park in that and play in that. So they can still do that. But I prefer to see, you were asking what people want. I think they want to see the zoo park fenced off, but the carousel, the train, the pond open where they don't have to pay to get in to see this. Because I really do think your ridership for the train and the carousel would increase if it was open to the public. You'd get more riders now.
And it probably would, but I've also shown where we've already have a 30% increase
Yeah.
on visitation with the current
But I think
as
that could
well.
be higher, But I don't mind.
If I also take the train and start carving up and the whole bit, now all of a sudden the zoo shrinks and I can't expand because those are footprints. I can't potentially take the train and make an experience out of it because it's now quote unquote not part of the zoo.
Yeah.
So those are the challenges that it limits my growth because now you've even hammered me into a smaller area. And we already know that we receive pressure about having proper spacing for the animals in the collection that we do have.
Yeah.
So,
I can appreciate that too. But I don't mind charging. I mean, you got to pay your expenses.
yeah, one of the big zoos that's free is the St. Louis Zoo, but they also do a very regional cultural tax that includes a neighboring county. And they charge probably about $36 on a $100,000 home. So it is free, but then you're paying for parking, you're paying for some other experiences, you're paying for all the rides. So there's other means, and St. Louis Zoo is one of the best zoos out there, but it is.
I like the idea of the tickets too in the mail. The only thing is you'll have somebody that won't go and they start giving it to their neighbors.
Well, but then is that a benefit that they have for paying their water bill? I'm open to it.
There's something to look at.
Yeah.
Councilor Moore?
And I guess, you know how I feel about that too. That's always been my issue about charging for the zoo. I feel like, okay, everything else, we did the museums, I was okay with that. I've been fighting for no charge for the zoo forever. So when they start carving it up, it really became an issue for me. And you come at history, I've been here my whole life. And so just to see that look so different and the cut up with the fence in the middle of all that is discouraging to me. But I just don't want to. If we can figure out another way, we could do some more marketing for the parties and some of the nighttime stuff and all that stuff. But just general admission during the day, I don't see why it couldn't be free. I understand this your percentage of increase or whatever, but and I only guess that seems different, like there's an increase because we just now started keeping data. So it seems like we hadn't been keeping data all these years. So we don't know how many people went all the time when it was free. We don't have any of those numbers. So we're just now starting to keep data. So we can't say how good or bad that is really, just kind of doing it. So I guess I kind of like I don't know how we can come to a happy medium, but just the daytime price, I don't want to see, but I'm not okay with that. Like the parties and you going up and all those things, that's fine. Those electricity paying for all those things makes sense, but just the regular daytime is in part regular. And I don't know why I keep saying daytime, like you don't go at nighttime. Nights at the zoo at nighttime.
We've done some movie nights, but that hasn't made
also you have lights
in the nighttime.
No, we're going to be asking you about electrical in a minute.
That's why y'all gonna be having some nighttime. Y'all gonna be having some nighttime events if y'all got no lights out there, because they've got lights and bears. I swear, don't mind. So we can be. So I still that is still my, I'll keep fighting. We can, the rest of them, I'm already gave in about the rec and the museum and all that, but I still want to fight for the zoo to be free.
There's some things that flash.
Minor lights.
Everybody got the phone now.
I just wanted to add about the accreditation. And I think you do need to charge because to be accredited, you have to really improve all the pens and everything and get a PETA off our back. Somebody has to pay for that. And we obviously don't have the money, the city, so you have to pay. Yeah.
We got a whole bunch of money. Anything else?
Do we need to approve this? Because I'd rather see something adjusted with the free days instead of the months.
But I'll take whatever motion comes out.
Yeah, it's up to you guys, whatever you'd like this to do.
So can I make a motion that we approve it with changes before we go to council? So we don't have to bring it back to the committee? And I can get with you on
Correct. Yeah, I would need that, but, and to define what the changes you were looking at.
just on the free days instead of 2 months.
Yeah.
Put it up.
You know, that would be fine. But I think before it goes to council, I think the rest of us should know what those changes
Oh,
are.
yeah, yeah.
And so we won't, unless you call a special meeting just to discuss that.
I can email it, no?
No,
No? Oh, okay.
because then you have you get into the thing about rolling quorum.
So then, well, there's only 4 of us on the committee.
And you have to do this today?
Yeah, but if you share that kind of
I
information,
know.
we'll refer to the clerk.
Well, you can still have a quorum of a committee and still, because you're still making a policy, making decisions, so.
No.
So it wouldn't be rolling quorum if we discuss it on email?
No, you can't.
I'm saying it still would be.
Oh, it's still going to be a roll call.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're going to have to come to another meeting then.
Can I make a motion to postpone this or whatever, if we don't have to be doing this right now? Can we rethink about this or?
Yeah, if we're going to make the changes. we can-
It's your choice.
Because otherwise I'm going to vote no. So if we don't postpone it and talk about this a month's time, it's going to be
I'm just a chair. I'll take the motion. Whatever the motion is.
I don't know how to make a motion to
Can we
postpone.
make it?
Yeah.
I make a motion that we postpone this until we see the changes on the modifications of the free days till our next meeting. Sorry, John.
And we can adjust the numbers.
I'm here to serve. Tell me what you want.
And you want to postpone it for next
Next
meeting?
meeting.
Okay, so we'll pick it up on next meeting. If the motion passes.
Motion, who's the second?
I've got a motion. Is there a second? Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, then I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Let's try that again. All those in favor, it's a motion to postpone until next month that we'll have some maybe different additional, I don't know, information concerning the fees at the zoo. So we have a motion and a second to postpone until next month. Everybody understand that? Okay. Those in favor of postponing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Maybe we got a maybe.
You want to postpone it?
No. Okay,
So 3 months.
okay, so we have okay, let me make sure I understand
Right.
what the vote is. We got 1, 2, 3, yes, and you're saying yes, right? Yeah, are you saying yes or no?
Postpone the
To postpone, to bring it back next month.
Yes. Well, yeah.
As far as I can understand, it's a yes. So we have a 4-0 vote, so we'll wait for that one for next month. So the next thing on the agenda is item number 3, consideration and approval of the Roswell Public Library roof there. Who's going to take that one?
I'm taking it, and also Justin is involved with this.
Okay,
So for your reading pleasure, I have copies of the slides, so you can look at the lovely pictures the evening before you go to bed. And that's it. Stephanie, do you have a copy? Okay.
Is it anything different from what you submitted? Okay.
So the request is for, we requested a quote for roof repair and a separate quote for roof maintenance. And I think you kind of have to look at them together. The roof maintenance quote is designed to maintain the roof at its current condition and identify leaks and correct those that are within the parameters of preventive maintenance. The roof repair quote repairs the many, many active leaks we have at the library. This is the roof repair and the roof maintenance. Those costs were not included in the library budget. It was not included in the facilities budget. So I do want to be very clear that this is a budget increase. Okay. So then if we go to the next picture, I told you that I was going to have Justin, the project manager and facilities maintenance, also here to do it. So I'm just kind of like, take it away.
What you're looking at, your picture on your left, your primary roof drain is the one in the foreground, the first one you see there. It is full of leaves and dirt and debris. So that one is at the lowest point there at the roof. Now it's full now. And the other one is the scupper that goes out. There's a secondary drain. So that whole space fills with water and goes over the side of the building. So that area that's there, it's approximately 20 foot around that scupper fills with water and holds water for up to a week in some places. This one drains a little quicker. It'll hold water for 2 or 3 days. That TPO membrane does not like to be submerged for that long a time. So part of the preventative maintenance would be to clear those things. And so, oh, here we got another one. So there's a primary and a secondary roof drain. You can't see the primary because it's full. It's that little gray area there in the middle. And to the left, yep, and to the left of that is your secondary. That holds water for weeks. That one does. And you can start to see the peeling of the white membrane on your picture on the right. You can see it right in front of the, yep, you start to see right there, you're starting to see peeling of that. So that membrane does not like to be submerged. That's part of what preventative maintenance would deal with. So they would clear roof drains and remove debris from the roof, and it would be part of tree trimming and basic roof maintenance. So that, to make that roof as efficient as it can be, there's a reason it's white, and what it does is it reflects heat energy. And if it's holding dirt like that, it's absorbing heat energy. And with proper preventative maintenance, it keeps it white, then it keeps it shiny, and it reflects that. So it's reflecting heat, energy from entering into the building, but it also protects the roof, keeping them from being submerged like that.
And this is a nice sunny day, several days after it rained.
Yeah. And so again, we see so you've noticed how much higher the secondary, on your second one there, you notice how much higher the secondary roof drain is. That's about 3 inches taller. That's over the flood room of the primary drain. So that is going to hold anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of water for, that one is completely loaded with dirt that turns rock hard and has to be cleaned out periodically. Now on your left, you can see that it's full of dirt and leaves and other tree debris. It holds moisture, and it also, from old growth on there, and you get all kinds of growth things, but also on just above that, you'll see the cracking rock. There's a big gap between the stucco and that rock right there. There's one of our roof leaks that we have identified. And so that area holds water, and then it floods right over into the building. And there's, yep, so the one on your left is the same. That's a seam between the rock building and the roof membrane that portions of it have come up. There's cracking along the The stucco, that's the roof cap. So that any water that lands there goes directly down into the building. So this company, Roof Care, has dealt with this building before, and the library had issues with water coming up through the foundation. And that's that on your left picture, you see that there's a white surface, and then just above that, it's a different color. That they painted an epoxy around that to keep the water from coming into the building. And so you see that cracking that's there, that meant it's cracking now. And those things would be covered under the preventative maintenance care. We have to repair the roof, and we also have to then maintain the roof. Part of what the maintenance does is does those things free of charge, because it's part of the roof care service that they provide.
Okay, that repair that was done for the maintenance was done in July of 2019. The last time that the roof was cleaned was in March of 2019.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Questions by committee members?
A couple. Do we not have city staff that does regular maintenance on this? Or
Not roof specific, no, we haven't. I'm new to the department and new to the city, and that is something that I'm moving forward with is roof. It's going to be part of our preventative maintenance program that I'm developing, but we're still in the early stages of it. But that is a product specific to that company. So that right there, no, that's not something that my team would be able to do. But cleaning roof scuppers and roof frames is something that is going to be, I'm moving forward with, and I have a team that I've been able to hire, and we're starting that
it's
now.
all the city buildings now.
They're all the city buildings, right? Working on that now. I shared that with my team we had a meeting just yesterday, and I shared what my roof, I have it here, in fact, if you want to see it, what my building inspection and preventative maintenance checklist looks like. This is something that I've developed for my team to do, and on it is things like roof scuppers. Now, my team is, they're not roofers, they're not that, but we can make sure that we can clean roof drains, and we can make those things. Yeah, those are, relatively simple things. My plumber can come through and clear drains that are clogged, and the other guys can remove tree debris and trim trees.
Yeah, because some of those you don't want them with a shovel on.
Right.
Right.
Right. So that is something that my team is developing, and we're moving forward towards that. But the preventative maintenance that the folks with the roof care are offering is above and beyond.
So the people that did it in 2019, I guess there's no warranty anymore on any of that.
Was it the same company?
I don't know.
It was the same company. So the repairs that they made are good for a year.
A year, okay. So if we repair it, you're saying they're going to maintain it for just another year?
Yes.
And then after that?
Yeah, well, so what they offer a few different things. They offer this, so Enid has also the $11,500 to maintain the roof. Roof Care did a smart care program for the whole city. And I didn't bring.
Is that 11,000 just for the 1 year?
That's for the 1 year, and that gets you 2 visits to the facility where they do, and so with that price comes maintenance to the roof. And so there's also pictures that are on some of the other slides that show the block wall has deteriorated, and it's very porous, and it allows, water to run down and trickle down into the building. Those are repairs that under Smart Care would be repaired free because we pay for that service twice a year.
So if we paid to repair it, or even if we paid to maintain it, instead of repairing it,
Yeah.
it leaks.
It leaks right now.
I know.
Yeah.
When they maintain it, they're hopefully going to fix the leaks, right?
Yes.
So
They, no, that's part of the contract. It does not, all it does is it maintains it to its current condition,
okay.
which has leaks in it.
So what you're.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, we just got a new leak in the children's workroom. Well, the leak, we have certain leaks at the floor level that we get no matter when it rains or how hard it rains or what direction it rains in. And then other leaks, just like we suddenly started getting leaks all along the south wall, right outside of where we have our computers, and they were just dripping off. And then when we were looking at it, we had rain like, what, 4 or 5 days before we were looking in the children's area. And we noticed that along the beam and the ceiling, there was water spots still wet.
Oh,
So there's a lot going on.
so what you're looking for is
We
a
are
roof repair and the roof maintenance.
Yes.
What, and they're only giving us a year warranty on the roof repair?
Standard roof, yeah.
Standard, that's-
Yes, the standard is, yeah. On the-
So-
But with the roof care and with this company, if we call them back out after a year and 5 days, with the roof care, they make that repair under the roof care.
Okay, at what point do you think the city staff will take over the roof maintenance?
We're going to start now, but in 2 weeks, my program starts in 2 weeks because the rest of the city buildings are coming in due for the preventative maintenance service.
So do we need to
that.
pay for this maintenance one then?
Yes, because we're not roof repair people.
Okay.
We're going to clear the drains to make sure, because the problem that we're having is holding water. Once we stop the holding water, we can deal with the other leaks, but we can't deal with the other leaks. It's product specific. And
Yeah.
we don't have the ability.
Okay.
How often will you be doing this?
Every 3 months. So we've just looped it into standard air conditioning equipment needs to be maintained every 3 months. And so we've just looped in the building inspection with that. So every building we're going to see every 3 months and provide this list to the department head so that they can then track how their building is doing and then use that information to help them tailor their budget for the following budget year.
Anything else?
I think it's a part of our problem is like we wait too long. You know, they waited. The maintenance, we've been talking about a lot over the last few years is we take care of stuff. We do this stuff and they don't take care of it. And now we 50 leaks in when we could have been taking care of this. It was 22 instead of now we got the whole, and we just got new computers. So you sure don't want the water leaking over there where we just redid that area. We just redid the little area where the kids are. So, it needs, there's not a lot of discussion. If you had, it needs to be fixed. And we can't keep patching. That's part of the problem. We should keep patching stuff instead of fixing stuff. And if they'd have fixed it right at the beginning, would have done the whole roof, we would still be fixing leaks at every other corner in the building.
Spend good money after that.
Right.
Anybody from the audience, of the public? Any questions?
I have a question. Is the roof, I know the metal roof was replaced, 2.5 years ago? That isn't the problem. It's more the.
Yeah, that's a question I was going to ask.
So the Bondurant room, which is the diagonal part, and you're not seeing the white membrane on that, that had a Spanish tile on it. That was leaking also. And sometimes the leak would be in the Bondurant room and sometimes it would be outside of the Bondurant room on the other side. We also had leaks that were dripping off into the library, into the lobby area. So we had that repaired. So they took off the Spanish tile and they put a metal roof only over the Bondurant room roof. And that was the only one that was replaced. And that was done, let's see, 2020, I think it was, 2020 or 2021.
I think it was
Still
2 years ago.
We were still closed with our flooding issue. So I kind of do everything from the flood.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I ask you to?
Citizen
In order for us to keep track of the public comments, if we can have your name and address, please.
Yes, it's Jim Ball and my address is Field House 1401. Street address.
That's fine, right?
Is that fine? Okay. That's fine.
And here in Roswell, and it's been here since 1879.
Okay, that's a little bit more than where we wanted.
I was curious why the red tile went when it did. We at one time had wonderful red tile roofs and They fit it with the metal, and I thought it was an attractive metal roof. But when I heard the leaking, I'm like, is it under warranty? If that's the problem, but if it's not a problem, then it's the flat.
It's a flat part of the roof now.
So the metal roof is not.
The metal roof seems to be doing okay.
That's hard to hear.
Thank you. Jim?
That's a crazy question. I see you have a new list and you're going to inspect all the buildings and you're going to give it to the managers to take care of. However, I also see when things break, I don't know, I got a list for you longer than my leg. And it's always reactive.
Yeah.
So you're going to go look at this roof every 3 months, really? Do you feel really comfortable with that? Or do you feel more comfortable if you contracted out to a company that does roofs and then you're done with that, they maintain it?
So this is a general maintenance.
Yeah, no, I don't need one. We've talked in the past.
So this is a general building inspection and preventative maintenance.
Right, that we
I'm
need.
not getting roof specific. I'm not repairing roofs. What I'm doing is making sure that the roof drains drain properly so that we are not doing work on roofs. We are making sure that the drains drain.
Because I know that I've spent money in the past on contracts to take care of the roofs just by keeping the organics and stuff off of it so it doesn't get mold and it doesn't break down and suck heat. It was always seemed to be a better option than anything else.
It's true. This could be.
But I'm
It's an
asking,
option. It's an expensive option. So what I'm
it's
offering
$1
is.
million roof.
It's true. It's true. But to pay, so we are going to move forward with that in the next year. I'm going to try to do it. It's called Smart Care. And it does, and this is from the same company. And they look at every roof twice a year and provide this same service that they look at twice a year. So that's a roof professional and they're going to be making repairs to the roof. I'm not making repairs to the roof. I'm making sure the roof is clean and there's no debris on it and there's no leaves and sticks and our floor and our drains.
Yeah, and the drains aren't plugged like right here, but
That's simple.
it just, I just want to throw out there that might be a good way to go.
It is. I agree with that.
Even now versus the cost of anything else we may be looking.
That's true. And so that's the other thing that she's requesting is for the roof, the Smart Care on her roof.
Yeah, but I wanted to just say that I believe that would be a good way to do it.
And we've done it here in the past. From what I understand, it was done not this past year, but 19 and 20 and 18 and 19, I believe.
Not all buildings had it done every year.
No, there was a list.
So like every other year, the library, or every 3 years, the library got it.
That's right.
So this roof maintenance, say they're maintaining it and you end up with a leak. Are we gonna have to pay additional fees for them to repair that, or is that covered under the roof maintenance?
There would be additional fees depending on what it is. So if they're doing their roof care product, if the leak is going to be considerably smaller than if we did nothing for 3 years.
Yeah, and I mean.
Right? So if we're catching it before it gets to be a big leak, the repair cost is considerably less, right?
Let me ask anybody that's on virtual if they have any questions or comments. And I don't hear any. So, the question that I would have is why not go out and try to do all the roof for the entire library instead of doing, spots here and there and just spot maintenance. I mean, to me, it makes a lot more sense than going in and doing the whole building instead of doing, one room or whatever space. And I think that's the same question I asked when we were talking about the roof on the Bonder Road.
Yeah. I was not involved in the conversation about to get just the Bondurant room roof taken care of. I was ecstatic just to have that taken care of.
No, and I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
And
but,
when we did the roof, the below surface and the ceiling of that, I went into and looked at and got donated money to pay for that. So that was.
And you shouldn't do that.
Well,
I mean, it's
I
a city
didn't,
facility.
well, but we had leaks and.
No, and I understand. But the thing is that, to me, spot repairs they may last a year, 6 months or whatever, instead of going in and doing the whole entire building, if the whole building needs it. And it seems like it would be more expensive to just do one room or one area and then have to come back and recheck all those things. And I'm just wondering, because what I read was that this amount of money was not requested in this budget.
That's correct.
Okay, so from that standpoint, I think you're going to have to go to finance.
Yes, and I am on finance committee's
Okay.
agenda.
And so we may be wasting our time here having a big discussion concerning this, because finance is going to have the final say so as to whether they want to come up with 69,000 or whatever the amount was. And so, but to me, it doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense from a business standpoint to do, just small repairs as we find them, instead of asking for the entire roof to be done. And you take care of the problem and then move on to another building, and you don't have to worry about that one. I mean, you can do the maintenance, whatever it is that you're asking for them to come in and check it every 6 months or whatever. But at that point in time, you know for a fact that you already have a roof and hopefully have a warranty when they complete the roof.
Mhm.
That if something goes wrong, I mean, all you have to do is call the company back and have them fix it. But again, I don't even know if we need to take action on this item, because it's going to be taking action.
Yeah, you are the committee that I report to, so I would consider it an insult if I went to another committee before coming to you to talk about something related to the library. So.
And I appreciate that.
So yes, this is being brought before the finance committee, but I do think that it's a courtesy, just like I give things to my library board as a courtesy, even though it needs to be approved by the city council.
Okay, and I think that from my standpoint, I think that maybe the motion would be to forward it to the finance.
That would be a good
Yeah,
motion.
because eventually the finance is the one that's going to decide it.
One more question before we do.
Okay.
So like this picture on the right, where it's coming from the ground, that'll be included in the repairs, even though it's not the roof?
Yeah.
Okay. That was my.
We showed them different places.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Because how long is it before we'll need a whole roof? Because we just, like he said, we putting Band-Aids, so how long? Right, exactly. Oh, have anybody ever started looking into what is the possibility of needing a roof?
95% of that roof membrane is in very good shape.
Okay, cool.
And so the problem areas are the problem areas, the ones that are holding water. And that's where we're seeing the problems. They were started by the things holding water. So we have to deal with the problems now. So we have to make sure that we're not holding water, fix those things. And then now preventative maintenance moving forward will keep us from having to replace the whole roof. We can't, roofs leak, buildings leak. You can't replace the roof every time you leak.
Right.
Yeah, right. So that's where maintenance comes, it's really important. So once the thing is brought back up to a not leaking, if we can maintain that with the smart care and with my team making sure that everyone's concerned.
So item number 3 and number 4 go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand.
And so, could, yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you about it.
Yeah, make a motion.
Yeah, we're ready for a motion. I don't know if we want to make a motion individually or can we combine item 3 and 4? Yeah.
With a recommendation for it or just
I guess-
saying it in time that we,
Well, there's two price points, correct? One is 11,000 and one is,
But one's the repairing and the other one's the maintain.
yes.
And so there's two, so I've given you two different
Okay, so
abstracts,
there's
two different abstracts.
okay.
How do you guys want it?
I put them together.
I think to make it simple, just make one
Yeah.
individually because they have different price.
Oh, okay. Then, can we go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I make a motion that we defer item number 3, the consideration and approval of Roswell Public Library roof repair to finance. With recommendation. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
recommending to send it to,
Yeah,
we're doing one at a
To
time.
approve or just for,
to approve, recommendation to approve.
recommend approval.
got it? Okay.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. Item number 4, we can go ahead and make the same
Do you want-
kind of motion.
Yeah, I make a motion to send the consideration for the approval of the library roof maintenance to finance for approval.
Got a motion and a
Second.
second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 5, consideration and approval of the cost estimate for installation of electrical service upgrades and pole to the Spring River Zoo temporary entrance booth. Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have basically working on a whole new entrance. So the background, if you've been to the zoo, we have a new building up front. This has started before I got here in the spring of 2021. We're looking to add additional temporary entrance for the facility that would allow us to have a designated gift shop, a secured entry and admission, and the structure would allow our guests and staff to be out of the weather during the ticket taking and the gift shop experience. We have had challenges with the state responding to the permitting requests and understanding the needs to move forward on this project. Because this is a city project, we had to refer to the state for permitting. So that's presented a challenge, especially during COVID time when we were not able to get email responses or phone calls returned from the state in that regards. As of June 2022, a prefabricated building was transferred from Affordable Portables and placed on the site in the parking lot. The building itself, because it was a floor model and last year's model, we got a discounted rate for basically $31,000. This building was not rated for occupancy. We have been working with various entities to allow permitting for the use as we are intending for it to be used. Some of the challenges we're finding to move this project along is finding contractors to provide the quotes to get us over the hump to make it a usable space for us. We now have a design that is approved, and we're discovering in this process all our electrical needs and needing the upgraded services to the current infrastructure, as it doesn't really meet our proper additional needs, i.e. there's a pole right there near the gate entry, but it's only rated for everything that we're using in that area. So an additional building needs more power. So that's kind of what we're looking at. The additional upgrade in the electrical services and the pole should also help when we look at the Lucrino farm experience. So that allows us to get service to that area, and we can just tap into that in the future if we set up the service. And I guess it's amperage right size for anything future that's going to be in that immediate area. So some of the benefits with this temporary admission building is the guest services will be out of the element. We'll have a sturdier structure that won't be damaged by the winds, a more secured facility that will allow us to take in cash. We've realized that we do have some customers that would prefer to pay with cash. It's just right now being open with the tent, cash can flow away. They're a little bit more susceptible to anybody to come in and snatch and grab. This space will also add more space for our gift shop options, thus increasing revenue. It also helps define the entry for the zoo. And the building would be repurposed according to the pond plan that I told everyone about. So when our new entry is completed, we can actually move this building over to the pond and use it as potential rental space in the future as well. So it'll serve another purpose in a different life. The building right now currently stands near our parking lot, near our current entrance. It's basically 18 feet by 50 feet. Inside is just basically bared walls and whatnot. We do want to add space. And so next slide is you can kind of see where it's located at within the parking lot space. Next slide. And so this will allow us to have a little bit of office space for our guest services staff, a display case, cash register, displays that we could, hang things on the walls and really kind of give a better experience for our staff and guests to come in. This will be your traditional Disney. There's one way in and one way out. It all goes to the gift shop. So that encourages spending. Next slide. So now that we were able to get a contractor using CES and Alloway, we asked them to break down kind of all the sections and whatnot between, and the bold is really our electrical needs, but the whole cost of doing the whole project from the walls to the floors to the ADA ramps to drywall to carpentry work and all the electrical needs, as well as data. That's going to be our Wi-Fi and everything like that that we need to hook up to that. And the tax, we're looking at $181,562.80. This is budgeted in our capital improvements. We have a line item and specifically set aside $200,000 for this type of project. So we already have it in our capital improvement budget. I would ask that we consider approval of the cost estimate for the installation of electrical upgrades, pole, and additional items for the Spring River Zoo temporary entrance building. So once again, it is in the capital improvement for the full amount of $200,000. Our goal with some of this also is figure out where we can cut costs. Maybe we can work and try to find things, but we do have the money for it. So I do not predict we would go over our allotted amount because we will find ways to keep it. If that means I have to paint, I paint.
Questions, committee?
Where's the gift shop stuff at now?
In a tent.
Under a pop-up too, is basically where we.
They set up and tear down every day.
It's
They take it down every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
We have to take it down, that's the stuff in the building
And-
that you see. We take it down every day, set it up every day. If it's windy outside, we have to take it down and put it in. If it rains, we have to take it down. So this would help keep merchandise that is already spent money on protected, our staff as well, safety, and it would help with a lot of needs that we have there.
So what's the amount you're asking for today?
Our estimate is the 181, 562.80, but we budgeted up to $200,000.
Next slide says just for the pole and electrical, right?
And the additional items. So
Yeah.
they gave us they gave us all of this. So we thought, why wait another month?
Yeah.
So if we could add in your motion and the additional items, since we.
This will complete the project. What's there is somebody else doing it and whatnot. If it does look like it's going over, like I said, we can paint. There's things we can do. Can we look at a cheaper flooring material and whatnot? And that's Amanda and I and Justin actually working with the contractor to say, no, we don't want Italian marble. We want linoleum.
So I'm new to all this. So since it's already been budgeted, you're just looking for approval to spend the money.
Correct.
Yes.
Any other questions? Questions from the public? Anybody on virtual?
Are you planning to move it or leave it on the sidewalk there? What's that?
We plan on leaving it in the location that it's at. We will rework the fence around it once we have all the ADA and everything like that, so that it's really just one entrance. We will put a gate by it, so if we're doing things like Night of Living Zoo and larger crowds like Brew, that we'd be able to actually add a different entrance. But for your day-to-day visitors, they're going in and out through that entrance.
Any further discussion? If not, can we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the cost estimate for installation of electrical service upgrades, pole and additional items for the Spring River Zoo for the temporary entrance the full council, right? That's what we're doing to full council.
Or
Approval.
consent, because it's already.
Because they have already budgeted.
It's already budgeted, so I don't think
To
it needs to
consent.
go to legal.
Because it's already budgeted.
Yeah.
It's already going to legal.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, aye. Motion carries 3-1. Okay. So that is the end of the action items. So we'll go to the non-action items. Starting with item number 6, McBride Cemetery update.
Committee Chair, council members, Abraham Chaparro. I'm in charge of the McBride Cemetery project. So I was asked to come today just to provide you with just a simple update of where we're at. The McBride Cemetery, do we have another slide after that?
It will work.
Should be a simple slide after that.
Hey, stop sharing. No, I don't.
So the previous design that we had was rejected. So what we want to do is we started working very closely with Chavez County veterans, choosing the architect. We did hold 2 interviews with ASA Architecturals and then Studio D Mexico with the city representative and also with our Chavez County Veterans Association. We chose ASA Architect to create the new design. So I just want to point out quickly that this is the grant number. The deadline is June 2023. The entire construction time is going to be about 45 days for this project. So the timeline for issuance, as soon as we issue the PO, the ASA, it's about 120 days before we start construction, an additional 45 days after that. So right now, the contract for ASA that you have in your packet has been submitted to the state. We want to make sure the grant administrator is okay with the language. There's a couple of items that we need to run through legal to confirm. Go back to the state, get the state's approval. And when it comes back to us, we can bring it to full council. I stand for any questions, and also I have a cash flow here. Anybody would like to see exactly where the funding is at right now?
Abraham, is this the money that we got from the state?
Yes, that's the grant number E2950. So we did have some expenditures on the previous project, so we did have to allot for those. So that was reduced from the total amount. And right now, I think our total balance we have right now was $121,013.32 that we can utilize towards the new design. And if you notice, the proposal from ASA Contracting came in about $40,000.
Okay.
We do have some materials left over. We do have a letter from the state stating that the steel that was already prefabbed and purchased by the project has to be dedicated to McBride Cemetery, utilized somewhere within McBride Cemetery only, at no cost to the city.
Questions?
Did you say that I remember voting on you said it was disapproved or whatever, that was denied or
The
something?
previous design was rejected, so we went back to the table.
By the state, it was rejected?
No, it was rejected by not only the city, but with the veterans group. It did not fit the design that they were looking for. So under the guidance of executive management and working with our veterans group project, we decided to go back to the table, design it and start over to make it more conducive, look a little bit better. Mr. Ball here is with the Chavez County Veterans Group, and he can brief you if you want. He's been working with us closely every step of the way as we've been progressing from this point forward.
Would you like to share any comments? Would you like to share any comments?
Well, what he said was right. That, it's unfortunate that had to start all over on the design, but it did fit it at all. It's traditional structure, and then the wings were modern, iron, and we're going to end up with something a lot better. And I think we get more bang for the buck with the new firm.
And one of the biggest things with the new firm is that the Chavez County Veteran Groups, the city of Roswell, we have a good working relationship. Their previous architect was a little bit more like, this is what it is, this is what you get, go with it. So that's why at the request of executive management, we brought in the veterans group from the beginning. We're walking step by step, and every progress we make, we're going step by step with the Chavez County Veterans Group to make sure we have an accurate design.
Anybody else?
So the amount you invoice, you're saying a lot of it's materials too. So most,
So the A&E services that we invoiced, actually I handed out my copy.
there you go. Exactly. I just needed it on the record.
So the architectural services, these are services that were rendered to the grant, so we had to pay them out. So if you see the A&E services, this was Hewlett Dollar. We paid them out $42,416. We had to pay that for services rendered. Wade Construction, they provided additional work. They purchased the steel. They did some services as well. We had to pay them out as well. Testing with the testing services, that's going to be going with the next contract. So that's something that we're going to utilize anyways. We have them on hold with the PO ready.
So it's not like we lost that money. We're still being, some of it's not recoverable, but.
We had to pay them out, so we ended up with a balance of 421.
Okay.
And then the project, our new A&E services is requesting $40,000. And that's, you reduce that from the 421, and then we'll see what the construction costs are. So we're going to monitor that very closely. Because material costs go up and they're fluctuating, so we want regular updates, material costs. So make sure we're within that scope of work.
And then the city has up to 4 years to use this
The
grant.
deadline is 2023. So one of the requirements for ASA when we interviewed them is that we want a very fast turnaround construction time. That's part of the agreement that they need to get it done quickly. So we're looking to get this done well before June 2023.
Okay. Any other questions from the public? Any questions from anybody online, virtual? And it's not, this is again, a non-action item. It's for informational purposes only. And so again, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for being here. So we go to item number 7, Adult Center SB1 Fitness Equipment Update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, I brought this to you before in 2 or 3 months ago. And I wanted to give you an update. I gave an update to the Park Commission and they asked if I had update general services. At the time, that was 2 weeks ago, we had Park Commission. And at that time, my update then was to state that we were having a problem getting a PO issued for it because we did not have the allocated funds in a line item. Okay, but I'm happy to report that in 2 weeks, finance did help me. We have a PO issued and we have ordered the equipment. We have called the state. The state says the money comes in around October 12th. So I wanted to give you that update. And if you remember, here's a picture of our current equipment. And we're going to get 17 new pieces of exercise equipment for the adult center. And it shows you the pretty pictures.
So the information that was provided on the packet that we couldn't do it till January the 1st.
That is updated now. And that's,
So it'll be as soon as we can get the PO.
we got it today.
Okay.
Okay, so we have gotten it today.
We got the
If you'll
PO
go-
today?
Yes, we did.
Oh.
Right before this meeting, we were waiting for that final approval from finance.
And then I came into the meeting, but it's,
It's just that final approval.
Okay, so you anticipate the equipment being here?
So once that PO goes to the vendor, Marathon Fitness, they're referring it. So they're just waiting for the actual piece of paper, the actual PO.
Okay.
he knows the equipment we want, the vendor with Marathon Fitness, they know the equipment, he's got it in stock. And they're just, we give that PO tomorrow.
Great. Any questions?
So when we have all this nice new equipment, is there someone that supervises the room to make sure people aren't letting kids go on it and stuff?
Well, the adult center, it's 18.
Oh, the adult center. Okay.
Yes.
We get a Peloton.
Yeah. Good luck with that one.
All right, so if you'll flip through, and this is just to tell you that this is what I changed this to, and it does differ from your abstract to say the purchase order has been approved and the equipment has been ordered. Okay, all righty.
Any further questions, committee? Any questions from the public? Any questions or comments from people joining us virtual? Nope, looks like we don't have any questions. And again, thank you very much for the update. And again, this is just a non-action item, informational only. And so we'll move on to the next one. I think we heard a lot from the Spring River Zoo, unless you want to give another report.
Just to,
Yes, it is.
oh, yeah, it's on here.
Okay.
I don't think it's see, it's right there.
Right here, look at that.
I'll save that for.
Okay.
Besides the monthly report, I wanted to let you know that our perimeter fence is nearly complete. That should be finished this week, where we basically replaced all the 6 foot now with 8 foot. We still have to come back and backfill some of the low spots and whatnot. So that's going really, really well. We have the PO and working on scheduling a date for the well exploratory for the pond, so that we know the condition of that. The keeper staff have actually started working with also contractors to expand the bear exhibit. So all 3 grottos there will become available hopefully by the springtime, if not a little bit sooner, for all the bears. So we're looking at trying to do some of that. We're going to make their lives better while we work on designing something great. And then also earlier this month, our ZA mentor, Terry Lincoln from the Dakota Zoo in Bismarck, came by and visited our town and saw our zoo, reviewed some of our policies and procedures and facilities. We're waiting on that report to come in so that we know what we need to do to get accredited and the steps to take for that. So we had 3 council members, Ms. Best, Ms. Halverson, and Ms. Arnold, as well as the mayor, meet with Terry. So that was good. And then Night of the Living Zoo, the 28th and the 29th. We have 27 confirmed vendors or booths. So we've actually increased that from 20 from last year. So that's growing. Details to follow, but it's basically a fun trick-or-treating event for the community with games and activities for everybody. And it'll be a $5 admissions for everybody, but we're actually having dance groups, fun games, activities for everybody in the community. So last year we had 1,800 people in those 2 days. Our goal is to be bigger. So train's a whole other issue right now. So the mayor and I are actually working on replacing the track. The track is severely worn down over the years. So we have basically estimated about 1,300 linear track feet. So 2,600 rail feet that needs to be replaced just because of, when that going like the 60s, and then we've replaced a few here and there. But you have like 50 years of track wear and tear. So it just comes the time when we have to replace it. And the reason why it's not running is because it will jump the track, and I don't want a lawsuit. So it's not my wish, but we will try to figure out how we can come up with the money to at least replace the first 1,300 and then try to budget in regular repair and upgrades.
Train needs a new motor too, doesn't it?
No, we actually had all that fixed and upgraded last year. So it's running. Now it's time to replace that. And then let's also not forget is the engine might be running locomotive, but even those wheels, the carriages that run underneath, it's metal to metal. So if the tracks have worn down, we're still going to have to gauge and look at that as well, which is why in our ICIP list, we've asked for a replacement train for $250,000, which is, I can find a used one, just give you an idea. Even some good used ones are still 150,000.
I'm sure.
So.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yep.
Roswell Museum and Art Center, you want to give a report?
Well, yeah, so of course, your packet there with all the numbers, but we have a festival coming up, just a postcard on the table right there. So it's on October 8th. So we've done it since 2019, so COVID prohibited the last couple of years.
It was in a box, right?
Maybe, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a different one in the box.
Was it?
Yeah.
Kate Dorff is coming out, she's a University of Texas professor, who has presentation, she was on the Colbert Show, she's been on Ryan's World. She has new books coming out for kids and stuff, so I met with her today via Zoom. she's super excited, and she'll be working with Lake Arthur School District kids as well on a project while she's here. And she'll be giving a stage presentation, it'll be a lot of fun, and a lot of groups coming in to help out with the event, so definitely a community effort. Cisco Brink, who's the new manager of the convention center, is on board, and so we're really excited to work on that. But I invite you all to come out, October 8th from 10 to 4, with Kate presenting at 11 o'clock.
Questions?
During the fair.
Thank you. And now I'm going to skip through recreation for right now. Bravo Public Library.
Have our October schedule here. One of the things that happened pretty quickly is that we have a Billy the Kid catching Billy the Kid. Coming in, it started off with a gun collector who collected a gun that was given to Frank Stewart, who also chased Billy the Kid. He received 2 Colt guns, and the collector, one of the authors, had one of the guns, and his wife was at the gun show, and she said, you know, there's a gun just like the one that you have over here. And they found the pair of the guns and did some research and found some new information about Billy the Kid. We're going to start having music programs at the library. We have the Day of the Dead, or Dias los Muertos. I said that correctly.
You did.
It's going to start with a service for the departed. We're going to have the Roswell folk dancers there. We are doing a writing contest with the Hispanic Chamber on why bilingualism is important, and the winners are going to be awarded that's being funded by the Roswell Chamber of Commerce and a Linda Hayes Scholarship Fund. We have winners at the elementary, middle school, and high school level. And they're supposed to be reading their essays and be awarded a prize at that point. We have our working programs going on. And so you're seeing some more things happening at the library. All our programs are free and open to the public. We get sponsorship usually from the Roswell Library Foundation.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, we'll go to the cemetery. Jim, you got anything?
I've got engineering, and we were out looking at ways to get the drilling crew in, the well, their equipment, the drill rig. So one more things in engineering, we'll go out to advertise and the bid. That's about done. About 99% done with the drawings for communal shelter and columbarium, so that'll be presented once the architect brings that in. That's pretty much that for the cemetery.
And you also want to report on the golf?
Golf, we punched holes in the greens, got them sanded, and they're coming back. And we got right now golf.
Okay.
Be asking some more. We've got to deal with the golf carts still.
Any questions? And so the reason I left the recreation department is because I've been getting some calls concerning especially practice, softball, baseball, more questions on baseball and softball more than anything else. And so there seems to be a confusion of how those practices are set up in the cost and concerning sweat equity and even from the leagues. Some of them are taking advantage of it, some of them are not, and whether they get the same services if they don't use sweat equity as opposed to an organization that does. And so what I did is came up with a list of 14 questions, and I submitted it to all the committee along with Juanita, and I think you shared it with.
I shared it with Colette, Alex, and Sarah Bradley, who manages for.
I thought I saw James here. Yeah. But anyway, if you look at those, I would appreciate a report that would cover the questions for next, so we can have that discussion next meeting.
Okay.
And if you have any questions, please feel to call me if you need any clarifications or anything like that, that we can address, or call one of the members if you want to call one of the other members as well. Because they also have the questions, and I don't know if any of you had any other questions that you needed to include.
Now that I know your reason, I may have to come up with a few. I read the question, but I wasn't sure the reason behind it. I have been hearing some favoritism thing kind of going on with one team, some leagues and other leagues. And so I think some of these questions are pretty good because I feel like that may answer the questions that I've been, that have came to me.
And I do need to see if we can get an answer, not a specific answer, I guess, that, hey, but there is some travel teams that practice at the East Side League. So the question is, at least my understanding is that a couple of those travel teams are doing their own maintenance at the field. However, they need access to the water hoses. And the shed is locked. And from what I could understand was that the shed does not belong to the city. It belonged to the Little League organization that was there, East Side Little League. But they're not, they've been dissolved already. And so my understanding is that shed should be turned over to the city, should be taking ownership of it, because there's no organization that it belongs to, really.
Is there anything wrong with that, Jim?
No?
I understand that there's water hoses or.
Water hoses and, like you said, it's dissolved.
But I understand that within the last 2 weeks or so, the locks were changed.
Yes, I can answer some of that. So the only locks that were changed to Foghorn were the perimeter fencing, nothing to any buildings. And that was done so that we're trying to get a handle, to be honest, we're trying to get a handle on those travel teams. What we found was, so we changed the locks, and anyone that we had an agreement with, we called them, we provided a new key. It was only the fencing. What I will say in the short term until we get to next month is anybody that does have questions, travel teams or not, they are more than free to call or text my cell phone. I share that with all of the leagues.
Alex.
So would they be able to access the, so let's say the water hoses are in there because they had been using it. They had access to the shed, but the lock to the shed was changed.
Okay, so that lock didn't change, but we'll look into that. We're going to be taking a field tour tomorrow morning, actually. So we'll swing by for the floor tomorrow morning. And we can take a look, see what key works for it, and then adjust accordingly. That's easy.
Okay, that's the only thing that I have.
And we'll be prepared to present a presentation to you, not only on the fields, but also the inclusion of the sports tourism. And Alex and Sarah Bradley and Justin met to kind of put that information together anyway, that we were already working on. So they'll include it on field maintenance. Right? Your 5-year plan? Yeah.
I personally would appreciate it. I'm sure that the committee would appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
And the community would appreciate it as
Well,
well.
maybe if whoever gets the key to that lock should have the key to the storage, right? Is that what your thinking is?
Well,
To that same thing, they should have.
my understanding is the keys to the field were the same keys to the shed.
At first, okay, now they're
And
not.
then they went and changed, and I say they, I don't know who they really is.
You can blame me.
No, I'm not blaming anybody. they changed the keys to the fields.
Oh, okay.
And at the same time, they changed the key to the shed, but the field keys do not feed the shed lock.
Yeah, so I'll look into it. The intent was to only change the keys for the fences, not any buildings, but there's a good chance we mess up. So we'll look into that tomorrow.
Okay,
And I can get back to you and report back.
okay.
That specifically.
Anything else? Sure.
I forgot to mention next Thursday is the museum's 85th birthday. We're not birthday cake, so you can start. We'll be doing some other events during the year, and we have a new exhibition that's opening also related to the anniversary. Yeah. And the stage is back. Kind of. You'll
It's
come and see.
super cool. Yeah, you gotta come by and see.
Come get a piece of birthday cake.
Yeah.
Wednesdays.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Labor. Yeah. Councilor Sanchez, you got something?
Yes.
But.
Bye.
If there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned at 6:16.